Hi, baby. You don't want to be on camera. You don't want people to know you sit back there. You want to know where he is now? Hi, Pizer. Are you serious? Hey guys, okay, so I can't sit because he's so cute and like, why would I move him? Right? Why would we move little Chama? So anyways, what are we doing today? Today we are soldering my ring band shut. And the way to solder is to first heat up your solder and let it kind of ball up, and then pick it up with your pick, your soldering pick, and then put it onto your ring and solder it to your ring. It's a kind of sweat soldering. Gosh, I cannot talk today. Yeah, so that's what makes it really easy. If you put the solder straight onto the ring, it's going to be difficult to solder. You want to preheat up your solder, and then you want to put it on your ring. So that is the really easy trick to solder your rings. So this video is part of a series that I'm going to show you all how I make my epic, unique stacking gemstone ring sets. And these are some of my most popular designs. So I want to share them all with you. I'm remaking them all so you can see how I make them. And in this episode, we're going to make the ring bands. So I have half round wire. Half round is my favorite type of ring band. I just find it more comfortable than round. I feel like round is too bulky when I wear rings for my finger. I will say round is easier for customers to wear because it's easier to take off and on your finger. Half round or flat wire tends to stick a little bit more, especially if you are out in like the heat, right? Or in a really humid environment. But for me, I just find it really comfortable. So I use a thinner band. I use a 14 gauge, right? 12 gauge, not 14. I started with 14 gauge, half round wire. It was too thin. So maybe about 2 years ago when I started, that was the wire I started with, and it bent easily, and I got customer complaints, so I went to a 14 gauge wire. I will say, in the future, I will go to a 10 gauge half round wire. That's what all my rings will be. But one of the mistakes I did when I first started my business, and I'm sharing with you guys, so hopefully if you're starting, again, a handmade jewelry business where you create rings, you don't make the same mistake. I bought so much wire, just like thinking, oh, I'm starting a small business. People are going to buy all this jewelry and I'm going to need a lot of supplies. And I want to make sure I have the supplies available and not waiting for it to come in the mail. So I bought all this wire. And now I got to use it. It's okay. I mean, all the rings I wear are just 14 gauge. I find it really comfortable. I think it makes really dainty rings. When people order online, I like that the band is a little smaller because the way I create my rings using silversmithing and electroforming techniques, you can't resize my rings. So it's important that people get their ring size right. And a thinner ring band is more forgiving if somebody gets the wrong size. So if they order too big, you can put a stacking ring in front or behind my rings, and it will make it about a half size smaller and more comfortable to wear on your finger. And if it's too small, having a daintier ring is easier to kind of squish on your finger. It's not like a tourniquet on your finger. So having a daintier ring band has worked for me in selling. One, because I like the dainty look, and two, because it's a bit more forgiving if you don't have your ring size correct. All that said, I am still going in the future to buy 10 gauge half round wire. That's what I like. And if I ever start casting, I'm going to do the comfort fit style wire, which is basically like a half round, but with an oval shape it's kind of like having a round ring that you can easily take off and on, but it looks like a half round ring. If you've ever heard of comfort fit, Google it. It's like my favorite style of ring bands. Anyways, what we're going to use today is going to be the 12 gauge ring wire. And because I'm doing a series where I'm showing you guys my epic stacking ring sets, each set is going to be a different metal type. So we're going to have sterling silver bands, yellow gold filled bands, and rose gold filled bands. And I'm going to show you guys how I'm doing that right now. And so when I'm creating my ring bands, this is also the point where I silversmith. I solder the rings shut. I use basic metal smithing techniques to solder. If you've never soldered before, soldering is very easy. It's tough, say like the first couple times that you try it, and then once you get it, you get it. It's quick, it's easy, it's easier than you think it is, so definitely try it. So I had to go into my drawer to get my microphones so you guys can actually hear me in the video, and you can see Chama has decided he just wants to sit in that messy drawer. So all right, we're gonna let him sit in the messy drawer, and I am going to talk to you guys about what I have going on today. So we are so close to the end. This is all taking me much longer than it normally would. This is taking me a little over a week to make just ring bands, and normally I can make ring bands in one day for a batch of 25 rings. I do batches of 25 as my max, so when I do made to order on my website, I'll work on the first batch of 25 orders, then the next batch of 25 orders. Around the holidays, usually Christmas and Mother's Day is madness for me. I easily get about 150, a little more custom orders during that time, maybe 150 to 200. So I got to knock out batches of 25 really quickly. I can knock out during holidays. I work overtime, as you can imagine. I work early mornings, late nights, and I will do a batch of 25 in a week. So sometimes the orders don't make it out in time. If somebody orders for Christmas or for Mother's Day like the week before, at that point they're so far in the queue, there's just no way they're going to get to order in time. So I usually have a cutoff date of about a month before for each holiday, for Mother's Day and for Christmas. Anyways, so it's taking a long time. This is not something I'm used to. What I'm used to is knocking out a bunch of work and just enjoying the creative process and then paying for advertising, which is one way to do it. And that worked for me when I first started my business. And now I don't want to work for Facebook or Meta or Google or any other advertising site. Etsy's advertising. I've tried every advertising you can imagine. And so much of my money goes towards advertising that I really want to start organic marketing. So that's why we are making these videos. And that is why I am really doubling down on my social media. So anyways, making videos is all part of this. It's slowing down my process. I took on more than I could chew. I think I'm making 30 rings right now, a batch of 30. So I'm making more rings I normally would do for a batch for myself. And I'm doing that because I'm moving, and I just want to make as many rings as possible before I have to pack up all of my equipment, because my solutions can't come with me. I can't move my solutions. They're considered hazardous materials, so I am going to have to recycle my solutions, my electroforming solutions, my plating solutions at the hazardous waste recycling center that's here in New Mexico before we move. So there's a lot of money, right, in those solutions. There's a lot of gold and silver and rhodium and palladium. So I want to make as many rings as possible and use as much of the solutions as I possibly can before we move. And I also wanted to show you guys what I'm doing. So I'm just gonna do both and just accept that it's gonna take me a long time to do both. I think in the future when I make videos, I'm gonna take on much smaller projects that are much easier to record and to explain and to show you guys on video. But right now we're doing a massive project. So thank you for hanging out with me while we're doing this. And today we are hammering out the bands. So when I make my rings, I'm gonna place the gemstones on, what would you call it? The solder point of my rings. So the ring bands for my rings are always have no solder points because the solder is where I put the gemstones on top of, and I electroform copper around my gemstones. That's how I make my bezels. And so you don't see the seam of the ring at all. And that'll make more sense when you see me actually electroform the rings. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna hammer out these rings. If they are too small, they'll never be too big based on the way that I measured these. But if they're too small, we're gonna lightly hammer where I'm gonna set the gemstones. And honestly, that's helpful because it makes the wire that I use is half round, so it makes a flat surface where I'm gonna put my gemstones on top of. So we'll just lightly hammer the ring where I'll put my gemstones, which is over the soldering point, and that expand it out to the size I need it to be. Again, for me, because I use electroforming to set my bezels, I need my rings to be a quarter size bigger than the final size I need them to be. Because when I electroform copper around the bezel, it's also gonna go slightly around the ring band that's just under gemstones, and that will shrink the ring down a quarter of a size. So if you do exactly my techniques, all this makes sense. Or if you're an electroformer, all this makes sense. But I use really a mixture of techniques to create my art. I see myself more as an artist than a jeweler, and I want to create jewelry the way I envision in my head, and these are the techniques that I use to do that, and it gives me so much freedom. I love raw stones. I love organic textures. I love asymmetrical textures. I love unrefined textures. So that is the type of stones I use. It's rough stones mostly with some polished stones. And I need to use electroforming in order to make the rings that I like. So that's how we're gonna do it. We are going to clean our ring bands. We're gonna polish them up, which means that we will electro-clean the ring bands, and then we'll tumble the ring bands, and then they are done. And we are all done. I love how these turned out. They're super shiny. They're gonna plate amazing. They're gonna be very shiny when they plate. I thank you guys for hanging out with me. If you enjoyed watching my video, please like and subscribe. It really helps a small business owner like me, an artist like me, grow. And it helps me with marketing, which is more and more what you guys are gonna hear about from me. And thanks again for hanging out with me. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments. And let me know, what is your favorite type of metal? I know I've asked this question before. I'm asking it again. Because rose gold to me seems to be making a comeback, but are you a silver person, a dark silver person, a rose gold person, or a shiny yellow gold person? And for yellow gold, are you 18 karat, that rich looking gold, or do you like that 14 karat softer gold? I think I like the 14 karat better. I actually make all my rings in 18 karat. And I think one of the changes I'll make when I move and reopen my studio is I will start doing 14 karat instead for the final plating. I think it's just a more chill but cute gold look. All right, guys, that's all I got. Thank you again for hanging out, and I hope you find something that makes your soul happy today. Bye, guys.